Hello, hello, hello. Sorry about that. My belt was, my waist was itchy. So today, I made a video earlier, but I didn't like it, so I got rid of it. Right now, I don't know. I couldn't think of anything to do for a video, so I'm just doing one. Just be satisfied with it. No matter whether it's whether I think it gets a point across or not. But I was trying to talk about before how the answer is in yourself. I know I already made another video like that, but shit, I don't even fully understand it, so I guess I can't really make a video about it. Could try and give you my perspective on it, like from personal experience. Let's see. When I first learned that the answer was in myself, I didn't fully understand that. Didn't really make sense to me. I always looked for the answer outside, or in the universe, or in a particular element, or a particular version of ninjutsu. But there's nothing out there that's the right answer for you, except something that's in yourself. See, personal truth shouldn't be used to mean you pick what you believe in and then you just take it as truth because it's what you choose to believe. Personal truth should mean an actual truth, something that conforms to fact and or reality, but something that comes from inside of you. See, the secret to your reason for being isn't in somebody else's theory or somebody else's words. It's not in a book. It's not in a religion. It's not in a science. The reason for you to be you and do the things you do is within you. The reason whether you should or should not do something isn't dictated by the rules of the universe or by epic laws of good and evil. It's dictated by you and what's in you. Sure, I think it's wrong to do evil, but really, what is evil? I would look at it as just wanting to destroy happiness. Desire to destroy happiness would be pretty much the easiest way to define it, and the most basic. But hey, I mean, what if somebody killed your whole family, took your whole family away from you. Do they really deserve to be happy? Hard to say. Trying to keep on topic, I guess. I had to realize that what I should be doing with my life and what I should accomplish in the universe has nothing to do with some kind of goal that the universe has predestined for me, or that God has made for me, or that mankind has picked out for me, or given me a list of things that are society worthy that I should accomplish. It has nothing to do with that. No, the most optimal thing for me to accomplish is something that I want because I'm me. Like, for instance, I want to be a martial artist. So I practice fighting. I practice punching hard, punching different ways to hit different pressure points, you know. I build my own martial art. That's because I want to, because I identify with it, because it helps me be me. Something that I've always done, and something that's always going to be deep inside me, because it's something I truly desire and something that speaks to me. To me, fighting is a form of transcendence. And it might not be to somebody else, but that's what it does for me. To me, fighting teaches me all about physics and damage and healing and right and wrong and good and evil. It's just important to me, and I learn a lot from it. Some people don't learn anything from fighting except how to hurt people more. Which is very important to fighting. But each thing is different for each person. There are things about us that are in us that are all fundamentally the same from person to person. Fundamentally. But those are just the things that make us human. Like the 5 weaknesses. But we all still bear these things that individualize us. Now, individuality is not necessarily identity. What is identity? I guess identity is damn, that's a hard subject. I guess identity is like your class. Like, you know how in video games like Oblivion you can set up a different class, like warrior, acrobat, battle mage, rogue, bard, spell sword, Nightblade, monk, your identity is kind of like your attributes and statistics. So I guess say if fuck, this is hard. No, it doesn't really seem to be identity, now that I think about it. It's just like skills. Your skills can change and your identity can stay the same. I guess identity, hard to define. Let's see. I guess the identity I had before, it was like a set of moods and emotions and certain ways I felt about certain stuff and opinions and preferences. I guess identity breaks down to a lot of things. But I suppose most of all it was the way I felt about things. The emotions that I associated with certain things. I don't really do that anymore. I mean, I'm totally different. And you know, all those emotions proved to be useless. Things that I didn't really need for that purpose. Most of them were prejudices and misconceptions. It's almost as if the identity itself is a misconception. I mean, identity is not the same thing as self. Self is like you, like the meaning of you, like the actual matter that makes you up, or like you know, you. It's you. The self is you. It's this is so hard to say. Identity is to say how you can be told apart from one individual or another, but to say self, it's just so hard to define without using the word self in the sentence. But when you're talking about yourself, that's you. That's who or what you are. Your identity can change, but yourself is yourself. You can't become another self. You can't become someone else. I mean, you could act like someone else. You could change drastically to the point where you're almost a different person, but you're still you. You're not someone else. Just a different version of yourself. And then personality is not identity either. I mean, personality is like, fuck. Maybe it is. Maybe all these things play a part in identity. So if I lost my identity, then how did I not lose a piece of myself? Or maybe I just lost the information. Hey, I was filming a video. maybe I lost the information that made me who I am. Maybe I'm not a blank identity, but I've changed my identity. But you know what it feels like? It feels like I used to have all these points and definitions of myself. But now, it's not as though it's been erased. It's like all those definitions were pages with words on them. And the pages are still there, but everything that was written on them has been erased. The pages, the base material that makes me up, still exists, but now there's no definition. So the identity, I guess, is a definition. A definition of what makes you you. And you know what? I have lost some of my personality. It's changed. I've lost the negative parts. I've lost some of the positive parts too, but positive parts that I guess were really negative parts. They seemed positive. They were blissful, but it was like an ignorant bliss. And I've lost some of the information of myself as well, because the things that I identified with, I no longer identify with. I used to invest my identity in these things like Japanese anime cartoons. I used to identify with that. I used to draw them a lot more often too. And I used to think that anime was my life. Not that it was my whole life, but it was part of my life. In a sense, part of what made me me was liking anime, watching anime, and the animes that I experienced. But that was so fleeting, and I used to be so into Asian culture, but I don't know, I can't believe in all the things they believe in anymore. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's all philosophical. It's not very literal at all. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Some of it makes sense, and most of it makes a lot more sense than the things we believe here in Western culture, typically. But it doesn't make as much sense as what I believe in. I'm not saying that because some book tells me to believe it. I'm saying that because I've looked into it for myself, and I actually understand. I'm trying to gain deeper understanding at the moment, but it's going slow. It's going real slow. See, there's elements, and then there's sub-elements, and then there's a sub-element. So each element has two sub-elements. Everything's in the threes. So the first three elements, the protons, neutrons, and electrons of earth, fire, and water, they each have three sub-elements. So what it looks like, well, two sub-elements in addition to the main element. So it looks like 3 is actually 9. Because inside the earth element, there's a wood element and a stone element. And inside the fire element, there's an oil element and I think tar element? Yeah. And inside the water element, there's the void element and also a zinc element. Anyway, I keep trying to look deeper, and I think I'm trying to read too much into where there's no extra information to look at. I was writing a book about the elements. And I got to the fire element, and it just changed everything, changed me. The earth element was so easy to manage, but the fire element just took me over and swept me away. It brought me to another side of my mind. More creative now, more keen, more learning. Not just looking at things for what I know them as anymore. I'm looking at them for what I don't know about them. Always trying to learn. I mean, I was trying to learn constantly before, but once I had knowledge on a certain topic, I'd keep reusing that knowledge. But now I got all this broad information and all these new topics, and even some old topics that I'm re-exploring, and just so much to learn. Like, I'm looking at clouds, and I learned in science class about clouds. What the hell do I really know about clouds? I mean, those clouds in particular. How many protons in those clouds? How many neutrons? How many electrons? In all those clouds that I'm looking at. I have no idea. I have no way of knowing. I could use my psychic power, but I can't calculate a number that big in my head. It would just come across as many. Many, many. A whole lot. Too many to count. I'm not that good yet. And these evil spirits that are making my life harder, while they do not make it easy to use my psychic power accurately. Just learning to live with them has been hard. Let alone overcome them. But the two go hand in hand. If I couldn't overcome them at all, I wouldn't be able to live with them. And if I couldn't live with them and deal with the shit they put me through on a regular basis, I wouldn't be able to retain the sanity to overcome them. Because they're pretty fucking harsh. It's a sad world, you know? You try to make something work, and you get punished for it. The more you try to change the world for the better, the more the world resists, and the more you have to deal with trouble and pain. I used to be a waste. Didn't believe in the supernatural. I was Christian, but didn't believe in magic. Didn't believe in my own power. Didn't believe in any kind of purpose for myself except serving God. I used to pray that I would have new life, that I'd be shaken from my state of obscurity and brought into a point of meaning and usefulness. And substance. Daily things really happening, having a reason to live. And somebody must have heard my prayer, because now I always have a reason to live.
You got a smoke, bro?
No, I quit. Even all the suffering I go through now, which isn't as large as when I first encountered the spirits, but all the suffering I go through now and all the rewards for enduring that suffering is a lot more interesting than sitting in my apartment by myself, just waiting until I can see my friends again, knowing they're all too busy or just don't want to come over, or I just can't get a hold of them, or there's just plain nothing to do. I mean, now that these spirits are around, I always have something to do. It's not always fun, but at least I can fight. At least it's a purpose. And all the work that I've had to do to fight them, and all the learning that I've had to do, it's driven me in a way I was never driven before, to actually defend myself and actually stand up for something, stand up for truth, stand up for myself, stand up for right over wrong, stand up for the good of mankind and for the good of all good, instead of just being neutral and just taking the punishment, just sitting there and letting everything else in life dictate what I do, making decisions for myself. And it's funny, the more I lose the ignorant and self-serving and neutral, uncaring, not well, can't even say that, but not the neutral, uncaring personality I had before. The more I lose that, the more I gain the will to actually get things done, and the more I gain satisfaction and pleasure, and the more I gain purpose in my life, and the more I gain the will to make a difference in the world.